again, Everyday People. This is Mr. G on Everyday People, where we talk to and interview you, the everyday person. Today's guest, we have the legendary former football player who played for the Dallas Cowboys, Detroit Lions, and my favorite team, Philadelphia Eagles. Give it up for Mr. Garry Cobb. How you doing today, sir?
Good. How you making out?
I'm making out pretty good, thank you. Living the dream.
Okay.
So, you went to Stratford, Connecticut in high school, correct? Also from there, you extended out, going to the USC, playing for the Trojans, and which you majored in science and sociology, correct?
Yeah, I majored in sociology.
Sociology, correct.
USC, that's right.
Yeah.
And I grew up. It really wasn't Stratford, but Stamford, Connecticut.
Correct.
And I grew up there, and had 3 brothers, 3 sisters, and really got involved in sports. My older brother James was really the guy that really was my role model.
Okay.
He's 4 years older than me, and I used to play with him and his friends. And so it really kind of got me a chance to really get ahead of the other kids my age, because I was playing against guys who were bigger, stronger, tougher.
Right.
But they used to say to my brother, they said, man, I think little Cobb is going to wind up being better than all of us. And I used to get my brother mad, but it really, like I said, it really gave me a chance to focus. Really get a chance to learn a lot of things before kids my age were able to. So it was a real benefit. So I really used him as my role model, and really my dad was big on education, which was a big plus for me. But sports-wise, I really followed my older brother James.
Yeah. So definitely he was a large influence and impact on your life, what you're doing now. So that's
and
great.
He played 3 sports. See, I played football, basketball, and baseball.
Okay.
And sports was really a big part of my life. I mean, we start out with the beginning of the school year was football. Mm-hmm. Then after the football season, of course, we went to basketball. Then after the basketball season, and we went to baseball. So throughout the entire year, we were focused on playing sports. I mean, that's what I was. But my dad, though, he was big on education. And just to tell a little story about my dad. My mother and father dropped out of school in the 8th grade. This was when we were living down south. Okay. This was down North Carolina, where I was born, and we lived there until I was 6 years old. But when my dad went to the Army, he saw in the Army that the only people that they promoted were guys with a high school diploma. Wow. So when he got out of the service, he drove the bus for the kids because he was able to benefit from the GI Bill, where they would pay a soldier to go back to school. So he went back to school. He would drive the bus. Drive the kids to school on the school bus. Mm-hmm. And he was making a little money for that. And then he would get off the bus and go to school with the kids, and he got his high school diploma. And from getting his high school diploma, that was really, he saw the value of the education. So, there were, I had 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and during that time, he really committed that we were going to get an education. Right. And he put that as emphasis for us that, look, I don't care about sports. That's great and everything, but you could get hurt. Something could sidetrack you. You're going to get your education.
So it's pretty much saying you needed a plan B, moving forward for
that's
yourself,
right.
just
that's
in case
right.
something happens.
So that was something that was real benefit to me. I didn't realize that when I was growing up, but of course as I got older and saw the impact of getting an education and going to college and all that, that really was from my father.
Great stuff. Mm-hmm. So you gotta have someone that's going to drive you to push yourself for to excel and be successful, because nowadays in the realm of the industry of what we're in now, it's kind of pretty much dog eat dog kind of type of world, but at the same time with enough knowledge, get far in life. So that's impressive. Thank you for that. Thank you for that story.
Yeah, well, it definitely impacted my life. And he used to say something which I didn't understand it when I was growing up. He said, sometimes you just gotta want it. Yeah. I'm like, what is he talking about? Sometimes you just gotta want it. Well, he was talking about, sometimes you gotta get serious. Yeah. If you really want something, you really want it that bad, you'll commit your life to it. Right. And because in fact, I have to talk to a lot of the players coming into the league in the NFL, and so we'll talk. A lot of times, I'll end up talking to the linebackers. So I'll talk to them about the kind of commitment they need to make.
Right.
If they want to be a great player, the sacrifice that goes along where you're really committing your life to being a great player. So that's how you eat. You're making sure you're getting your rest. You're committing yourself to where you're working, not just during the season, but during the off season. You make it a lifestyle. And really that's true not only in sports, but in other areas. When you see the elite, that's what they're doing. They've committed themselves. And so that's the type of thing, and that's really what my father was talking about. That if you really want to do something, then you'll make those type of sacrifices.
Yeah. And hard work and persevering and being successful comes with sacrifices. Not doing certain things, not going out with your friends, hanging out with them all the time and stuff like that. Coming back from partying and stuff like that. Right. Because while you're doing that, while you're taking yourself out of that, you're working on your craft and you're becoming better each day.
That's
putting
right.
yourself ahead, little steps ahead of that person that wants it as much as you do.
That's right. Now see that makes me think of Joel Embiid. Per se, the Sixers, and they catch some criticism, and they're young guys, and so times I'll go over to the Sixers practice, and I'll see what they're doing, and to be a great player, and those, talk about both Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons,
right,
are outstanding players.
Outstanding.
But if they want to be champions, then it takes an extra commitment.
Correct.
And so that involves your private life. Right. So like during the playoffs, hey, you need to shut down the club. You ain't got time to go to the club.
Yeah.
Then you get sick, which happened to him last year where, Joel gets sick during the Toronto series, and he's not feeling well. And ultimately,
the performance after that.
Well, it could have wound up, they could have been the team rather than Toronto playing in the NBA Finals.
And I was rooting for him all the way through that, and then you kind of saw that, the consistency, you're like, something's going to happen.
Well, that's what they're going to have to grow to where they got to realize that that's the kind of commitment. If they want to be champions, that's the type of thing that it's going to take. Correct. So, in fact, I was just talking to a high school team yesterday, because I go around and I talk to a lot of youth. People ask me to come in and speak, and I was telling them about, hey, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about basketball or you're talking about football or whatever sport, and for that matter, it doesn't even have to be sports. But the elite, the people that want to be the best, see, they will commit and do things other people aren't willing to do.
Right.
And so that's where, again, that's what my dad was talking about, when sometimes you just gotta want it. I mean, like, you gotta want this so bad that you're willing to go this extra mile.
Absolutely.
To get this thing done. And it happens in sports. And sports a lot of times is a kind of a picture of life, where you see a lot of the same dynamics, and that's why you can see people, they want that kind of effort out of Joel Embiid,
right.
But are they giving that themselves?
Exactly.
In their own job, so that's always where, you could always, they talk about, the man in the mirror that Michael Jackson talked about.
Yeah, looking at yourself and knowing when you got to, improve in certain aspects of your life and area, and especially if you want to get to where you want to be.
That's correct.
So but thank you for that. So tell me a little bit, moving on, tell me a little bit about the book, your motivational book you had out. Now that book is called, if you haven't heard about it, you could pick it up. It's a good motivational book. It's called Don't Be Clueless, 7 Keys to Life in the Real World. Now what motivated you to make, that book? It's such an inspiring book, actually.
Well, a buddy of mine, Pat Breslin, he's the one really that encouraged me to, because I really wrote it with him, because we both made points in the book. Because we've done some speaking engagements together. And so what he talked about is that, hey, why don't we take some of the speaking engagements and put it in print? Right. And that's really what we did, because what I was just talking to you about, how sometimes you just gotta want it. The commitment, is one of the things that if you want to do things in life, you gotta be willing to make the commitment. You gotta be willing to make these personal, where you quote unquote judge yourself, and you see like a lot of times there's a, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and so a lot of these principles you find them in the Bible.
Absolutely.
So when you talk about, looking at the man in the mirror, that's talking about judging yourself. Correct. It's easy to judge other people. And you can see there, everybody can see what somebody else is doing, but when it's the man in the mirror, then they start stuttering.
coming up with excuses and trying to rationalize with themselves, like, I'll do it tomorrow. It's okay if I don't do it today. Trust me, I've been there before and had to take a long look and try to, figure out how am I going to improve myself? Am I really going to take the steps I need to take for myself to move forward in life and, get to where I need to be, achieve where I need to hit. But it takes taking a step back, trying to figure out what am I doing wrong that's keeping me in a stagnant condition that I don't want to be in. So, I absolutely, I'm
see, a lot of that's just attitude. See, and when you talk about humility, which humility means being honest and lowering yourself. See, because a lot of times it's very easy, and this is one of the battles that we have, as people. Right. Because the Bible talks about the fact that pride, that all of us have to deal with pride. It's a challenge, the pride of man is a challenge we all have. And it's very easy, you start getting lifted up where you think you have all the answers, and what happens is when you get into pride, you wind up having a big blind spot where something you don't even see, some obvious thing that ends up tripping you up. But if you have a good attitude where you got some humility, then you're able to see, not only what the other person is doing wrong, you can see what you're doing wrong. Right. But you got to have the proper attitude. And so I talk about that in the book. So I talk about, things like, being willing to, make sacrifices if you got goals you want to achieve. And then talking about, having a good attitude where you are judging yourself, looking at what you're doing right, what you need to do, what you need to adjust. And you have those serious talks with yourself. And then setting goals, if you want to get to a certain spot, for instance, if you want to go to Philadelphia, right, and you want to go over to Center City, you got a specific restaurant over there you want to go to. You got a specific restaurant. You don't see somebody out driving. You go, hey man, where you headed? Well, I'm just driving. Hey man, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just out here just driving. So where you headed? I'm not headed anywhere. I'm just driving. Well, that people say, well, dude, something's wrong with you. Well, in life, people do that all the time. Yeah. Well, what is it you're trying to do? I'm just, I don't know. Yeah. Well, if you have those type of, if you don't sit down and set a goal, what you're trying to achieve, where you're trying to get to, then you're going to be successful. Yeah. Because you don't know where you're trying to get to or whatever it is. So, you could always say, hey, I'm successful doing what I want to do because I didn't really make any specific goal. And that's the way you don't get anything done. Right. But if you make a specific goal, then you're able to look back and say, hey, I did what I said I want to do. I'm moving along, I'm progressing. But you got to set goals in order. If you don't set a goal, then you don't really get anything done. So those are some of the points that I get into in the book.
Correct. Wow. I mean, you really cut straight deep with it, and you're like, listen, this is what you got to do. And if you're willing to put in that time and effort, you can achieve that. You can see that through and make that happen for yourself. So,
and see, a lot of that I learned from sports.
Right.
And the one great thing about sports is every game you play, whether you won or whether you lost. Right. It's not like, a lot of times a person could be working on a job and they don't really know, are they doing a good job? They're not. Well, in sports, because if you keep losing, don't worry, you're going to find out you're not doing a good job. Because, we used to have a joke and say, man, how you find the fastest way to the airport? Tell the cornerback, hey, keep getting beat on that route. Yeah. You're going to find the fastest way to the airport because they're going to get you out of here.
Yeah. I imagine that, some of those athletes kind of walked on eggshells when they came to their careers, especially if you're not having a good season. So, what was that like, being on the field and, being around other greats?
Hello again, everyday people. I hope you enjoyed that interview, Mr. Garry Cobbs. That's a one-parter of a two-parter interview. Stay tuned for the second part. And while you're at it, like and subscribe down below and show some support to everyday people. It would be much appreciated. Once again, this is Mr. G, and I hope you're striving, focusing, and achieving your goals in life. Stay tuned.